Well, good morning, guys. This morning we're going to go ahead and continue with this international box truck, DT466E. We already found that it had a couple of followers, which are lifters, kind of broke their keeper and kind of turned sideways. Bearing ran on the camshaft sideways, so let's go ahead and tear this sucker apart, pull that cam out so we can see what kind of damages those followers caused, and how much work and money it's going to cost to replace that cam, get those followers, and get this sucker back up and running. Let's go ahead and continue tearing this one apart. Well, guys, this is the way we left it last time. I didn't pull the head out. I just kind of pushed it off to the side so we can see those followers. I still have to remove all the radiator, fan, water pump, get that front timing cover off so I can go ahead and pull that cam out. So we still got quite a bit to go, so let's go ahead and get started. I got the radiator out of the way. I didn't record that because we're not doing a radiator on a truck, we're doing an engine, so I didn't want to lose time on showing you the radiator. So from now, I'm going to go ahead and remove this pulley, this hub, water pump, pulley, water pump, pulley, pull the damper out, get this hose out of the way, this bracket, this one, and this one. Kind of clean up the area to where the timing cover is going to be fully exposed, and the oil pump, and then we'll go ahead and continue from there. Guys, I'm going to go ahead and do this on a time lapse. Just so you know, these are all 10 millimeters. Pulley comes off. Behind it, we have a, can't remember the correct name for it, dude, but it's a hub that just kind of allows that one to spin. That one's held by 10 millimeter bolts. Water pump is held by 8 millimeter, well, the pulley, 8 millimeter. I'll stop there because the water pump bolts roll through, and these are all 13 millimeter little bolts here. Let me go ahead and get those out of the way in time lapse, and then we'll go ahead and continue on regular time. Well, guys, we got those pulleys off. Let me get that cam sensor while we're at it, and I went ahead and got the socket on the 3 bolts on the damper. It's a 16 millimeter 12 point. It has to be a 12 point socket, guys. Well, guys, that thing is on there. I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there, and I'm gonna go ahead. I should remove it. Now let me go ahead and remove that thing, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and try to pry it from the back a little bit, make it budge, and get it out of there. I thought I had hit record, but I didn't. I just took a pry bar. I placed the end of the pry bar here and put the pressure on this bolt. I didn't put it on the timing cover. I did it on both sides, and this thing just flew right off. Okay, my puller had missing parts, so I just use longer bolts. I use the back of the the lip of the oil pump as my base. I screwed the bolts in, and I went back and forth and brought it out. We are going to replace this pump, so I mean, I didn't really care for that housing, but now that it's off, let's go ahead and continue, guys. And this one, guys, we're going to go ahead and get this bracket out of the way, because then there's a bolt and a nut holding the water pump on this bolt right here. and then the rest are just bolts. It doesn't have a nut behind it, so bear with me, guys. There's that. Now here, this is 13 millimeter. In the back, it's 10. I'm gonna see if I can luck out and not have to use a wrench in back, just use my finger. And it seems to be working. So, there you go, bolt and nut. And then the other 3 bolts are just bolts. So we can go ahead and yank those out. Water pump. That water pump is going to get replaced also. So, I mean, I'm not going to break it or nothing on purpose, but it is going to get replaced. Water pump doesn't look that bad. Impeller's intact. A little bit of rust color, but still all right. But we're still going to replace it, guys. I mean, this guy's getting a new engine, and for us to, you know, cut corners and use the old pump, nah, it ain't gonna work. Guys, here on this oil pump, first thing we got to do is, the key ended up in the bottom, but we have to find a way to remove that key. There we go. Now we can go ahead and worry about removing that pump. Let me see this little nut driver. 8 millimeter. Let me see if I can get them with this nut driver. If not, I'll break them loose with the ratchet. Oh, got it. This one, it almost, one of them's too tight. Now they're all going to be too tight, guys. Let me go ahead and get a ratchet, break those loose, and then use the nut driver to completely take them off. Oh, guys, I kind of broke them loose with a ratchet. Now let me go ahead and when we put it back on, I'll show you where the long bolts go and the short bolts go. Got a couple of long ones, and the rest are all short. It's got 6 bolts, so I'll show you when we get back to putting it together where they go. There's the oil pump. It's got some scratches on there. That little piece of metal from the little hold down for those followers broke off. It got shredded. Little pieces of particles or pieces of metal came up there and scored that oil pump. Alright, guys, now that we got that, got to get all those bolts from that timing cover off. Got to get this mount off. We got to suspend the engine, so I'm going to put 2 hydraulic jacks in the bottom from the I-beam to the engine block to hold it in place, because we don't want this sucker to fall and cause any other damages. So we got to suspend it somehow. I don't have the hoist here with me. I let somebody borrow it, and they haven't brought it back. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get this as much as I can done, so that I can go ahead and at least get that camshaft out. Now, guys, this timing cover's got a whole bunch of 10 millimeter bolts with 1/2 inch nuts all over the place, with the exception of these three, these three. These are just bolts. All the rest are nuts and bolts. All right. So we're gonna have to use a 1/2 inch wrench in the back or in front, and 10mm on the opposite side. So let's go ahead and get all those suckers off. Well guys, now that we got all the bolts off for the timing cover, well, almost all of them, the ones we have left are these two 15mm bolts onto the engine, and we have these 15/16 bolts holding the motor mount to the block, and these 15/16 bolts holding this cradle, this motor mount to the truck cradle. So let me go ahead and get those 50mm bolts first, and then we'll get to the rest. Well guys, like I said, these are 15s. I kind of broke them loose earlier. I didn't want you guys to watch me struggle on breaking those suckers loose. I used the breaker bar. Just kind of broke them loose, and these are the two bolts holding that high pressure oil pump. It does have a bracket in the back of the sorry guys, sorry, my bad. It's not the high pressure oil pump, it's the air pump. It's an air compressor for the air brakes. It does have a bracket in back holding it to the block, but these are the two bolts holding it from the front onto the timing cover, because it is gear driven. You'll see the gears once we take the cover off. Sorry about that. It's not the high pressure oil pump, guys. It's the air compressor. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and get these suckers off. I'll show you in a bit how I got that engine suspended. Pull up, so I don't want to strip that bolt, so I'm going to loosen the motor mount so that I don't mess up that bolt. Well guys, here goes the timing cover. Doesn't look too bad for being that old, but hey, we weren't here to check the timing cover. The problem is not the cover, the problem is the camshaft. So let's go ahead and try and get that sucker out of there. For that, I am going to have to remove this sprocket and this sprocket. If I don't get these two sprockets out of there, this camshaft will not come out. So let me go ahead and get the tools that I need so I can go ahead and get that sucker off. Well guys, I pre-loosened these because they're very, very tight. And for me to get it on film or on video, it's going to take too long. And I just get your wrench, set it on there, and you have to use a hammer to break them loose. Those suckers are tight. Once we get them back on, I'll go ahead and tell you what the torque specs are. I can't remember right now, but I'll look in the books and I'll get the torque specs so that we can go ahead and torque those back up. And well, I mean, everything should be all right. That one's up. And I'll also show you the timing marks on these, because we do have timing marks. And these, you just kind of have to persuade them out. The bearing race kind of goes in there somewhat tight, but slowly but surely it will come out. There you go, guys. Two timing sprockets are off. Well, there's gears. Now the cam. For the camshaft, you have 1, 2 10mm bolts. Let me get my tools ready and I'll get those out. Well guys, let's go ahead and get those 2 bolts off of that camshaft. I had already broken loose. Again, I didn't want you guys to see me struggling, so I broke them loose beforehand. And now all I gotta do is kind of like take them out. And when you get into something this big, or when you jump into an engine this deep, you are going to get dirty. So well, right now the cam bolts are already loose. All I gotta do is pull out those lifters. The ones that are damaged, I can't pull them out because they're mushroomed at the bottom. So I'm just gonna pick them up and lock them in place so that so that the follower is not on the cam. The rest I do have to remove to be able to get that camshaft out. So let me go ahead and remove those followers and then we'll pull the cam out, guys. All right. Well, guys, cam's coming out. Got all the lifters out of the way. So on this one, you just have to kind of find the spot, rotate, find the spot again. Hey Patrick, that's your camshaft, and look at that, dude. It's supposed to look like that, but look at that wear on that one, and look at the wear on that one. Alright, so yep, we're gonna need a camshaft and followers. So call me whenever you have a chance. Well guys, you can see the damage on the cam right here. It didn't mess up the cam bushings. So I'm going to pull the two cam bushings, the front one and the second one. I can't get the last ones because I got to pull the engine out for that, or drop the train. No, I got to pull the engine out for that one. I'm not going to do that, so I'm only going to replace the first one and the second one, because the second one I think might have gotten damaged because of all the heat that this rocker was creating. And if you can see, this lobe was kind of wore out too. That's what happens when these little keepers break. Lifter has a roller. It's supposed to go, the roller's supposed to follow the lobe, but when the little wishbone breaks, these lifters turn and the roller starts running sideways, and it'll just wear a groove into that cam and turn that cam into junk. So we are going to have to buy a $1,600 camshaft, and I'm going to recommend we get the set of followers. That's another $600 and something, so that's $2,200 in total. But it's going to be required for me to get this engine up and running. Well guys, that's going to be it for this video. I gotta wait for the customer to call me back. Let me know if he's going to want that cam so I can order it. And as soon as I get those parts, I will go ahead and start cleaning this sucker up and putting it back together. Alright guys, thanks for watching guys. Like and comment.